going to.
Hi everyone, this is Forrest for Faultylid, and today we're going to do a VOD review of a Soldier 76 gameplay I got sent in from a Diamond player. He asked about his aim and positioning, but I'm going to focus more on his positioning, because his aim's actually pretty good. What I have a problem with is his recklessness. Now right off the bat, I'd like to point out, it's not necessarily positioning, but it is movement. When he's fighting this Pharah, he stands still, doesn't really strafe much, and just makes himself an easy target. Now that Pharah only is going to take about 2-3 rockets to kill him. So standing still is not really an option. Standing still to improve your aim against Pharah is fine if that Pharah is not shooting at you, but as soon as she's focused onto you, you gotta be strafing around.
Diva behind.
Now it's good that he's positioned up on Big Earls, because that's where he wants to be. And like, here, he gets away with standing still because Pharah's not focused on him, and it's perfectly fine to do.
Widow down.
Right now, he's doing exactly what I want to see more out of him. He's standing on the high ground, he's hanging back, he's in a safe position, and then when Diva dives on him, he backs up and stays alive.
Yeah, he should. Yeah.
The most important thing you can do as Soldier 76 is value your own life. You are consistent damage that your team is going to need. And when you die, your team, you should basically expect them to be losing the fight. Again, he takes out the Pharah very quickly again, because he does have good aim. I might have used my rocket there, but he finishes her off with the melee, and that's just as good because we got the job done. At this point, we just want to reset up to that high ground and get ready for the next fight. Which is exactly what he does.
Why did you actually tell him? Why didn't you take the shirt from him?
He activates Tactical Visor, and then he jumps off, going for this Ana. He kind of tunnel visions in on her. Now, the thing is, if we back up a little bit, he tunnels onto this Ana, but he never takes a moment to look this way. So, we pretty much know that that Ana here is going to be in their backline, so we could probably assume that because there's a fight going on to the right of us, that there are enemies that if we drop down right now are gonna attack us. And he clearly knows that that's the case, because when he does drop down, he does take a second to look, and then he goes, oh, I've got teammates dying over here. And now there's a Diva right next to me. I might be in trouble. And yes, you are in trouble. I understand you want to get that Ana kill, but this death actually loses his team the point. And his team doesn't lose the point right here, but if we watch going ahead, he actually never gets to a stable position again. The Symmetra gets onto him, the Diva's on him, and the Zenyatta's on him. And if you had turned earlier and got this Zenyatta that was hanging around over here, that actually would have drawn out his Transcendence earlier, so that when your Zarya dropped Graviton Surge, it would have actually killed people instead of just being transcended. So even if you did die, looking right from the start would have been helpful, but ideally, you don't dive in like this unless you're sure that there are no enemies to the right of you. You can't just dive into the middle of their team.
Oh, nice. I got the
When he comes back, goes through the teleporter, a Symmetra is right there. He doesn't react to it very quickly, as quickly as he needs to be. It's unfortunate. I wouldn't say that's necessarily your fault. You don't necessarily go through a teleporter expecting a Symmetra to be right in front of you, especially an offensive Symmetra. Okay, so right now, there's a Diva in your face, so I'd probably take care of her, but we want to be getting back to the high ground as soon as possible. Definitely put her, at this point, like, no need to dive in towards that D.Va. Just get to a high ground. I'd probably get onto Big Earls more than this side here because it's kind of difficult to, yeah. The thing with this area right here is there's not as much space to move around.
Hold it.
No, I can't.
But that's... I almost don't think that would have saved you anyways.
Alright, I'm halfway.
That's alright. They're already down to the time that we took.
Really, I think the big problem with that first point was that ultimate that you dove in with. And then you never had a chance to stabilize as a team after that.
Combo 3-for.
So right now we're in a good starting position.
No!
I'll let you know when you're ready.
So, quick comment. This is the place where you want to be on defense. We either want to be on this platform or maybe on this garage right here, or maybe even the back balconies over on the opposite side of the road. But any of these, depending on where the enemies are positioned, where our allies are positioned, are acceptable. Now, what I wanted to comment on was, right now, hit that Pharah with a rocket. There are few times when you have a Pharah accessible to you to hit them with the rocket. Now, I save my rockets to kill enemies. I want to finish people off with the rocket, but Pharah is an exception. If I can put that big of a chunk of damage into her, it's such few bullets to finish her off, and that's just a big responsibility out of the way and a big damage dealer out of the way. So, if a Pharah gives you an opportunity to hit her with a rocket, hit her with the rocket. Not really a need to drop down from the high ground then, but you got out of there, get safe. I don't know if I would have popped this tactical visor to kill that Ana, because as you see, there's not really much more you can do with it, but you do get the Pharah with it. And then you kind of play a little bit aggressively to get that Zenyatta, but it's okay, it worked out for you. But you really need to get back up to the high ground right now. Really need to get back to that. And if we look at this, right after you do your ult, and after you kill Zenyatta, you take out the Symmetra turrets, and you see these two come around the cart right here. You see a Reinhardt and Symmetra. These are both close-range heroes. What you need to be doing is taking advantage of your sprint and just getting out of there, running towards your spawn and putting distance between you and the Symmetra and Reinhardt. There is no advantage to you going up to them and fighting them point blank. In fact, that's advantage to them. It's going to make it more difficult for you to aim to hit them, and it's going to make it so that you're in their range. So you're producing less damage, they're going from producing no damage to now they're have the potential to kill you. And if we look, you go left and you go this way at the Symmetra when there was just no need for you to do that. You actually had a moment where you could have hightailed it out of there. And maybe you don't kill the Symmetra right away like you do here, but you don't die either. And that's the most important thing, is not dying. We need to be much more cautious about our life when we're playing 76.
Stop swinging.
You know, if we're not alive, we're not producing damage. When you are alive, you get a lot of kills. You do a lot of damage. Like, you're a good 76 player, except you just don't value your life enough.
Oh, fuck. 99. Contest if you want.
Yeah, contest. The payload though, like that's the goal.
I mean, there's not really much you could do at that point because your team had to get out of that spawn and you were just being shelled by Pharah. They had the advantage. You only really get one good life on defense most of the time, and you kind of have to plan accordingly, so you need to keep yourself alive and keep yourself in good positions. Right now, we need to be setting, like right now, I almost think we're wasting time. Just get on top of this 18-wheeler right here. Just set up shop up there and stay up there until that Pharah makes you jump down. And you have the med kit right here, and of course you have your own health kit. So that's a great place to stand.
Dying on your own.
So we're on the position that we need to be. We're trying to poke at the Pharah. During the time that we're not poking at the Pharah, we should be poking at the rest of their team. Don't just wait for her. You can snap back and forth. Like, you can be shooting a Junkrat. Alright, now shoot back at the Pharah.
Just deep out of me.
Now, why do we come down to here? Like, we get up close and personal. The spot that we were just in was working fine for us. I know we didn't kill the Pharah yet, but the way that she dove over the middle of the cart, you would have killed her the same if you were just back on the 18-wheeler. And it's just much safer because what you start to do is you start to creep up towards the objective, towards where the tanks are, and that's not where you want to be as 76. That's a dangerous place for you to be. You have far too little health to be in those areas where all the damage is really being thrown around. Not to mention, you're actually making Pharah's job easier because now she can chunk damage into you, Reinhardt, and Zarya, and instead, if you were back, she would have to choose between firing at you or firing at those tanks. So now get back, get back. Get back on that ledge. You're very low health. You need to be finding healing immediately, and you have your...
There you go.
So look, right now you're dodging this fire strike, you're dodging a Junkrat bombs that are coming in, and we pop Transcendence in the face of a Devo, which is never going to be good for us. They're always going to eat all of that up. So it's kind of lucky that you got the enemy to pop Transcendence because your ultimate really wasn't going to do anything. What we should have done after we killed the Pharah is go back up to the high ground and reset. Because right now, even though a bunch of our team just died, if we're back on that high ground, we can possibly get some picks. So when our respawns come in, well, it'll be like 6-on-4, 6-on-5, whatever. And it'll help us just retake the point and stabilize pretty quickly. But being down here, you don't have great pick potential because you don't have a great angle on people, and you're much more likely to die.
Yeah, not play the game, but
Weirdly, I have to point something out. Weirdly, you hear Junkrat's tire.
yeah, not play the game, but
You hear get ready for a shock, and you start moving forward. This Transcendence here is not going to save you from this tire. The only thing that's going to save you is distance from the tire and shooting it. So if he decided to blow up his tire like right on the cart, you possibly could have been in danger. Running forward to a Junkrat tire to be a hero and try to take it out really quickly is not going to be something that works out for you most of the time. You're better off being at a distance, being at high ground, and having a good view on the fight so you can take out that Junkrat tire and possibly save teammates.
I have no idea what even happened.
You need to be getting out of this area. Like, look,
so what happened?
like this death was totally useless, and it was completely preventable. When you're playing Soldier 76, you need to remember you're not a tank. It's not your job to be contesting the payload like this, especially when you have Zarya alive to do that for you. You run into this area for what? You have this choke point. You actually have this choke point here between the cart and the stuff on the left of you. That now you have this alleyway for this Junkrat to lob his bombs through and hit you. And then you have this charged up Reinhardt who's just going to come through and smack you in the face. Soldier 76 doesn't do more damage when you're up close. You have 35 meters before your damage starts dropping off from its maximum potential. So we really want to be using that 35 meters. We really want to be on some type of platform and just far away from all the action. It's something that you're going to hear me say over and over again because your tendency as a player is to dive in and be a tank and be a frontline soldier. That's what's probably holding you back the most because your aim might even be better than my Soldier 76 aim. But the difference between me and you is I work very hard as Soldier 76 to keep myself alive and keep myself safe. It's my #1 priority. If you can keep yourself from diving into these scrums for no value and almost certain death, you're going to be winning so much more often purely because you're going to be alive to do damage much more often. When you come back after you spawn, look how bad it was that you even died in the first place to that very preventable death. This D.Va's in your face at the spawn, she ults on you, you have to run away from it, and then this Roadhog shoots you in the face. Honestly, there is not a whole lot you can do about that. They have you guys trickled.
Might have to pull the Bastion card, boys.
Where if you had stood in a more responsible position to begin with, maybe you don't die. Maybe you can back off for a second and come back when your spawns come out, and you can do a lot more for your team. But right now, it's very difficult for you to do a lot because you have to take these bad positions out of necessity. I wanted to give you an example of how I would play this final point as Soldier on Route 66. So as soon as we lost that middle point, the street phase, I would run up to this platform here, get on top of here, and I would be constantly laying down fire like you did. Now, the difference is I'm gonna stay up here basically no matter what. Until they flush me out of here, I'm staying up here. And the only time I'm really gonna drop down is maybe to finish off like the final kill or two from a fleeing enemy team. But if they're actually having any sort of attack still, I'm not dropping down unless, like I said, like a Widowmaker or maybe Pharah gets really aggressive or I'm in danger. I'm not dropping down, and if anything, I'm going to be dropping backwards, getting this health kit, maybe using my biotic fields, and then I'm going to get back up. I'm going to try to get back up. And continue to fire down on them. This is a much better angle than being down here. Because if we're down here, we can see less. We're going to have more blocked by their Reinhardt shield. We're going to have more blocked by their D.Va. We're going to have all this incoming fire at us. It's always better to find a position on the high ground. As Soldier 76, find a position on the high ground. Ideally at a place where you can just jump down to your team. I can just, at any time, if I feel like I'm in danger, I can jump down behind my Reinhardt shield and I'm safe. But the biggest thing I see in your gameplay is you actually set up in the right positions, you find these high ground spots, and then you leave them. You leave them without really having cause to leave them, other than you just want to be hyper aggressive. And when you do accomplish being hyper aggressive, like you took down the Pharah in this area above the cart, you should just return to this spot and remain there. Mechanically, you are a good soldier player. You can easily make it to Masters and above if you keep yourself safe and you stop diving into engagements that you just really don't need to dive into. If you start playing more laid back, more protective of your own life, I think you're going to find yourself climbing very high in Season 4. So that's going to do it for this VOD. I'd like to thank iVape Titanium for sending this VOD review in for us. I hope we all learned a little bit from it today. If you want your own VODs reviewed, make it a YouTube video and send it to me at Faultylid Gaming. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And this has been Forrest for Faultylid. I'll see you next time.